Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for Facebook Live Dixie Fire Incident Update. My name is Kim Osborne, Public Information Officer for Great Basin Team 1. Let me first bring you up to the latest numbers regarding the Dixie Fire. The Dixie Fire is currently at 953,696 acres with 59% containment. There are currently 4,894 personnel assigned to the incident. I'd first like to introduce you to our first speaker, Incident Meteorologist Jack Messick.
Thank you, Kim, and good evening, everyone. Jack Messick, your Incident Meteorologist here for the East Zone. Just a recap of what's happened in the last 24 hours. We did have a cold front move through during a red flag episode. And the first thing it did was yesterday afternoon, it generated some showers and thunderstorms. So we did get some lightning in the area, but it was, for the East Zone, it was fairly limited to what we call the escarpment area, which is the basically the ridge above US 395. So later on that night, showers developed, and we had about 12 hours of rain. It rained from about 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. last night until 11 a.m. this morning. And through it all, we got anywhere from around a quarter of an inch of rain on the East Zone to just over half an inch of rain in the East Zone. So that's what the rainfall amounts were like and the number of rain gauges we have on the East Zone. The West Zone, for those of you interested in that, they got a lot less. Some areas might have gotten a little over a tenth, but most of the readings there were actually below a tenth of an inch of rainfall, which isn't very much. So this will help, cool down the fire, at least for a couple of days. And then what we're looking for now that the cold front is gone is we are looking at the ridge of high pressure returning. We're looking for several days in a row now of clear skies. There'll be a gradual warming trend of the temperatures. And the winds will be on and off, but actually for about a 3-day period, as you can see on our Incident General Weather Outlook. And you read this sort of like the dashboard on your car. The more red and yellow lights there are, the more you stand up and take notice that something could be a problem. And so you can see there's a good section there where the winds, which is just below the LAL indication, are actually going to be very light for the next 4 days, and they're really not going to increase again until Wednesday or Thursday. So that is helpful. What would really help is if we have more of these storms like we had last night. But as you can see, they're not in the forecast until sometime after the 16th. So we'll entertain any questions you have about the weather. Just put them into the chat room box. And next is fire behavior with Tobin Kelly.
All right, good evening. Thanks, Jack. So as Jack mentioned, with the rain we had overnight, kind of that long soaking rain, the fire behavior is greatly reduced today. So what we generally saw out there was pretty much just stump holes, standing snags, and dead and down logs, a little bit of duff here and there burning, so not much activity at all. What we will see as things dry out, as Jack talked about, where we have the needle cast, those lighter fuels will dry out a little bit faster, so we will start seeing some activity in the needle cast, a little bit of low-intensity fire. And as things pick up a little bit, warm and dry, more of the stump holes and snags and things like that will start burning. But for the most part, we're not expecting to see a great deal of activity. We'll still see some of the fire up in the Devil's Punch Bowl there creeping around in that heavier timber there. Interior pockets will continue to smoke, and that activity will pick up as things warm and dry. And then across Horton Ridge and the Coyote Hills and up towards Dixie Mountain, we'll see the same thing. The fuels out here tend to be quite a bit lighter than what we had back here, so that has actually burned out fairly efficiently. So expect to see less activity out kind of along the east edge. But overall, we're going to continue to see fairly minimal activity for the next few days. And that should be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tobin. We will now present a video for you for an update from the West Zone. And this is Operations Section Chief Burnell.
Good evening. My name is Tony Brownell from Incident Management Team 1 for CAL FIRE. I am the Deputy Operations on the Dixie and the West Zone. Little update for tonight. So basically from Highway 70 to Butte Meadows, that's branch 1, 5, and 7. They're looking very, very good. Patrol mop up, no smokes in the area. All the hot spots between 100 to 500 feet in have all been taken care of. It's holding very well. Up in Division Papa, which is the Highway 32, Branch 9, Highway 32 area, 36 and 89 intersection and all that kind of general area, looking very good. The fire's been maintaining inside the lines for several days. The only issue we've been dealing with is the stump branch has some, we call it the peat bog. It's basically a meadow burning that's very dry because of our conditions lately. But we're doing very well in there. All the hose lays in here have been pulled out. We're in the process of being pulled out. So we feel very confident this is not going to get away over in this area. Move up into Branch 9. That was our active area yesterday. As most of you know, that fire ran up to the northeast. It ran 13 miles, and it's 6 miles wide at the widest spot. So that roughly puts about 50 miles of new fire line for us to take care of. Currently, from the Hat Creek area to Highway 44 near the escarpment, the line's almost complete in there. So it's looking very good to protect the area of Old Station. Right now, no reports of damaged or destroyed structures in Old Station. We're looking very good in there. It's holding very well. And we'll continue to work that area throughout the night and in tomorrow to make sure it's secure. Above 44, across the head of the fire, which is the top of the fire, down to the, we'll call the right flank of the flop over, it's holding very well. We do have dozer line around most of it, so right now we're about 25 to 30% of line on this slop over from yesterday. We still got a long ways to go. The weather's cooperating. Our wind right now is at the bottom near the Old Station, but up on the plateau it's being pretty calm, so it's cooperating with us. We're able to go direct on the fire line, which yesterday we were not able to go on the fire line just because it was so hot. So we're working on that. This is our main priority for the whole fire. We've been flying fixed wing and rotary aircraft on that area all day long. Once the clouds cleared out this morning, we're doing very well. In Branch 16, which is the Highway 44 corridor, it's Branch Q and R is doing very well. It stayed within the lines. What happened yesterday, we got wind tested. So those strong winds, 20, 30 miles per hour blowing across our line, we had no spot fires out there, so that's very good. This whole area has received rain today. But the issue with the rain is it was good. It slowed it down for a couple of days, but once the sun gets on it and the wind's blowing on it, it eventually is going to pick up and dry off enough, and it's going to start running again. So this is our opportunity to get in there and put that fire out. So on the A21 road, which is Sierra Tango, going into Union, it's looking very good. No issues in those, and we're actually pulling some hose out of there. Around the Lake Almanor area and Westwood area with Meadow Lake, all in patrol status right now. No issues in there for several days, even weeks. We are pulling our hose lays out of a lot of those areas and our equipment, but we continue to have a presence in there for call for services. The Meadow Lakes area still has smoke in it. That's going to be like that for quite a while until we get in there and get sprinkler systems on it because it's burning through several layers of the organic material. The Highway 36 corridor is looking very good into Susanville. We have no issues on there at all for the last week and a half. Moving down into the Janesville area, it's looking very, very good. Only a few smokes in there yesterday. We got all those cleaned up. We'll continue to patrol and mop up in that area. Some repopulations have been moving forward, so we're looking really good there. Just because we got some good progress up here, I want to reiterate, this is not over on the top. This thing can get up and move at any time. So the areas of Little Valley and Old Station, be prepared in the subdivisions there. It can get out and start running again. So I want you guys to not get false insecurity. If it starts to run, listen to them. If they say get out, get out. So overall, we're making progress every day. We appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be from the East Zone Operations Chief, Jeff Serber.
Thanks, Kim. So starting, I think, sounds like there's several questions from the folks in Taylorsville that are interested in an update. So we'll start at Devil's Punch Bowl. The folks there today did not venture in there very far due to wet rocks and mud and that kind of thing. When the ash gets wet, it gets super slippery, and they're already in a spot up there that isn't the easiest spot to get into even when it's dry. So they dipped their toes in there maybe a little bit and looked at it, but they didn't venture in there to deal with that today. As of end of shift yesterday, there wasn't much smoke showing in there anymore. They have encircled it with people with the 3 crews that have been in there. They just need to mop up more, a little bit more interior. From what I understand, there was no smoke showing on it today. That doesn't mean it's out. It just means that it's laying down for a while until the sun hits it and evaporates the moisture we got, and then it'll start smoking again, assuredly. So the that's a pretty good update there. I would expect that to continue in the future with those crews. They're just going to keep on plugging away and knocking out any smoke they can find in there. They will not venture in farther interior than any farther than they have to secure that line and make sure it cannot come out, just due to the fact that it's pretty dangerous terrain, and the more they walk around in there, the more chance there is to slip and fall and have some kind of an accident. So they will be mopping up the edge and probably 100, 150 feet inside that edge, and then if you see smokes that are interior farther than that, they probably will not get worked by firefighters. They will be monitored, and if they show any signs of the possibility of escape, they might take action on them, but otherwise you'll probably see smoke in there for quite some time. Moving into Division Romeo from Grizzly Mountain over to Davis, this is all really looking good. It's still shown as red on our map because they're not quite ready, but I would expect that in the coming days with that rain, there's very little activity that I could see on that today. I also drove up through Davis over Bagley Pass and out here into Clover Valley and up the 177 to 625 and over through Dixie Valley, and very, very little activity. That doesn't mean it's out. That just means that we got some nice rain that cooled it off for a while. There are heavy fuels like logs and stumps still burning and smoldering, but there was no real threat to the line. There was a little bit of work that was done on Horton Ridge right here with one helicopter for about half of a fuel cycle, dropping buckets for a couple of folks on the ground that wanted to wrap something up right there that they thought was worthy of getting water on it and cool it off. That was all the aircraft used today on the east zone, was just the one spot on Horton. Moving over, it's pretty much run into the Sugar Fire in here. This is all very secure. And then down on the 395 corridor, I did not get down there myself, but the people that reported to me today told me that they couldn't see smoke. So that we had those crews build hand line up through the retardant line for the last 2 days. That's all holding, very little activity. But like I say, we won't underestimate the fire, and we'll stay vigilant for both the spot fire and all this country, just because the fire has shown us what it can do. And once it dries out and gets warm again, you will start seeing smoke come back, and we just have to monitor it and patrol it and keep eyes out there all the time to make sure it cannot come back out away from where it is or out of the current perimeter. And finally, today we did take the West Zone, took all their resources that they had on both the spot fire and the portion of our fire our zone, I should say, that comes down to 395 that they'd been helping us on. They have their share of problems up north towards Old Station, or north and west towards Old Station, and as you just heard. So they needed those resources, and we're making a lot of progress. So we took this back with all the resources coming out of either Quincy, our A23 spike, which is there by Beckworth, and that's the majority of the resources came out of the A23 spike since it's closest. So they leave Beckworth, they come around on the highway, and we're fully staffing those other spots. Thank you.
Next will be from the Plumas County Sheriff's Office, Chandler Pay.
Good evening. My name is Deputy Chandler Pay. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Plumas County Sheriff's Office and Office of Emergency Services. For the last 2 days, we've made no changes to our mandatory evacuation orders or our warnings. We know that the community has a lot of questions about some of the areas that have remained under a warning or an order. Specifically, Taylorsville still remains under a warning. We understand that is a concern of the community, and we continue to evaluate that every day with the incident management team. And once we're in agreement and they're in agreement that it's safe to lift that warning, we'll do so as soon as we can. But until then, that area will remain under a warning. Additionally, the Dixie Valley area will remain under an order at this time. And again, the same message that once we're able to, mitigate those hazards to allow people to return, we'll do so as soon as possible. We continue to patrol those areas under a mandatory evacuation order and warning, especially with the assistance of our law enforcement mutual aid partners. Right now, we have individuals from the California State Parks, along with Fish and Wildlife here helping us out to patrol those areas. There's a lot of incidents going on throughout the state, and their resources are also needed elsewhere. So just know that we'll work as hard as we can to get you back into those areas as soon as possible, because their work is needed elsewhere too, but we want to make sure that it's safe to get you back in there before we do that. For the current evacuation information, please go to community.zonehaven.com for that. You can see all the areas that are under a warning and an order. Last night's weather, especially the rain, obviously favorable, but it's not just going to put that fire out and allow us to let everybody go back in. So like I said, we'll continue to assess those areas and get you back in when it's safe to do so. Damage assessment is ongoing. We understand that there's a lot of people from the Dixie Valley area that are eager to hear about that damage information. The damage inspection specialist did go into that area, and they are preparing their report, and they'll make that information available online as soon as they're able to. They have a lot of ground to cover, a lot of areas to cover, so please be patient with them in that process and continue to check the plymouthcounty.us website daily under that tab, and you'll be able to see when that damage information gets posted. Also, the Antelope area, again, we'll open that area when we can. Please continue to vet the resources that you're going to for assistance. We have received some information about fraudulent places posing to be, OES or FEMA. So please, if you're going online looking for resources, use a vetted website. Either that be our website, plymouthcounty.us, or going directly to the FEMA website or the Cal OES website. Please don't just rely on a simple Google search to get you the correct phone number. We want to make sure you receive assistance as soon as you're able to, and the proper assistance. I also like to discuss the PG&E outage real quick around the Lake Almanor Basin. Chester still has power right now. I'm told that's because they're on generator power. The rest of the basin is out right now, and I'm told that is due to PG&E infrastructure damage caused by the Dixie Fire. Crews are getting in to access the area as they can. At this time, they have not provided us with an estimated restoration time for your power. Phase 1 household hazardous cleanup continues. You can track the progress on the plymouthcounty.us website to see if your property's been cleaned. Crews did report success last night in some of the mitigation steps that they took to prevent debris from going into the gutters, which could then go into the streams. So Cal OES reported to us success in what they call wattles that they set up on some of the properties to catch debris so they don't roll in and further impact the ecosystem there. So just wanted to pass along a little bit of success from the Cal OES debris folks. They did a great job with that. Please continue to follow us on Facebook, the Plymouth County Sheriff's Office, and also online at plymouthcounty.us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandler. We will next hear from Agency Administrator for the U.S. Forest Service, Plumas National Forest, Chris Carlton.
Thank you and good evening. Chris Carlton, Forest Supervisor here on the Plumas. I'll start off with a friendly amendment to my report from a couple of nights ago. I had said as we look at suppression repair and emergency response as things get a little better, we're going to focus on the roadside hazard, tree abatement as a top priority. And that is true, but we also had a couple of people on our team here point out that there are a lot of hazards out there. Erosion, the potential for mudslides and that kind of stuff as we head into winter. And so they corrected me and wanted to give a little broader perspective. So far, we have over 24 priority areas for repair on the backside of this. And the team that's working on it is ranking those hazards based on the level of kind of risk to first communities and public safety, as well as the level of risk to natural resources. And we are going to operate, and that protection of public safety is the top priority, but it may not be just limited to roadside hazard trees and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be broader than that, but it is that community protection remains our top priority. So couple other things, we have the team transitioning, and I just want to emphasize that this is the 5th team, I think, that we have in briefed on the east side, and we're headed into our fourth on the west zone. That's if I'm doing math in public, which is always bad, 9 teams on this one fire. And that's a lot of different personalities and a lot of different faces up here that you've all been watching for the duration. One thing that all of those teams have in common is a commitment and a dedication to put this fire out, regardless of what zone, regardless of what team. Every single one of the incident commanders and every single one of the team members is doing everything they can and has done everything they can to put the resources where they make the difference to get this fire out. And so as we welcome back Jerry McGowan's Team 1 and say thanks to Evans Quo and his team for the work they've done here, just recognize that commitment has been here and will continue as we move forward. The last thing I want to talk about for a second is, we've heard a lot of, we're feeling good. This is looking positive. We've heard those and we've heard those before. And so that doesn't mean they're not true. We are feeling good in a lot of those areas. We did get some rain, but there's a big grain of salt with all that. And I think we've learned over the last 50 whatever days to recognize and respect that. So let's appreciate the kind of the grace we've gotten here and the good weather and the opportunity to make a difference. So let's also recognize, like we see around the west zone, around Old Station, that fire does want to continue to burn. And so let's continue supporting the firefighters and the folks on the ground. Let's continue to recognize that we do have people in our communities who remain impacted and face additional impacts until this fire is 100% contained and out. So really appreciate the support, the viewership. Keep sharing your questions and concerns, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Chris. We will now be presented with a video from the Agency Administrator for the Lassen National Forest, Deb Bumpus.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Deb Bumpus. I'm the Agency Administrator here on the Lassen National Forest and Forest Supervisor. I'm hoping that you all are just as excited as I am to have seen that rain last night and see the clear skies today. It's just, we haven't seen skies like this probably in 3 months, so it's a great thing. It gives us hope. And I know I could see it on everybody's faces here at camp this morning that we're just hoping that this will make a difference and that we can get around a huge part of this fire. Also, just wanted to highlight that there was a lot of activity up in the Hat Creek area yesterday. It seemed to pushed out on the rim a little bit. It didn't bounce down into the Hat Creek drainage itself. And so you can see up on the map here the difference there and just a little bit of growth there. But they did get around it last night, and it sounds like today they've done a good job as well. So again, patience, hoping for the best as these weather pattern pushes on through. The winds are going to come back up and warm up again, but I know that we've made good progress, and thank you again for your support of our firefighters in all agencies as they work together to bring this under control. Thank you and have a good night.
Our final speaker will be our East Zone Incident Commander, Evans Quo.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So on behalf of Nick Truax, the Incident Commander of the West Zone, and myself, Evans Quo, Incident Commander for the East Zone, I'd like to thank you all for visiting with us tonight and getting the information. So, for the first time in quite a while, this fire finally got a little bit of a break or a reprieve in the weather. And, thanks to the little bit of precipitation and cooler conditions that we had, it helped tone down the concerns that we all had with the high winds that we were experiencing. This fire still has quite a bit of potential. The fuels are extremely dry as a result of the long-term drought that we're in. And so while the addition of a little bit of precipitation is helping calm the fire down, it's got a long way to go before the fuels totally recover. So that being said, the 13-mile run that the West Zone experienced last night, I mean, that's just an indicator of what kind of potential is still out there in the event that we have still other uncontained areas on both zones that they get subject to another high wind event. So just to summarize the areas of concerns for the West Zone, They're trying to keep the fire away from impacting Old Station up on the northwest side of the fire, and then also that piece, that big finger of fire, if you will, that ran north of Highway 44. For the east zone, a lot of our concerns are really starting to drop off as we continue to hold all the lines that we got put in about 4 days ago, and we have yet to lose any more ground. So that's a good indicator. But we still have, as our operations section chief talked about, the Devil's Punch Bowl. We have not fully got around all that yet, so I would probably still consider that uncontained. And but effort is moving forward in that area. And then the rest of the challenge is keeping our fire within all of our existing control lines, just because we have a lot of values to the south in the Highway 70 corridor. We have a lot of values up north on the Highway 395 corridor as well that we just do not want to see any more impact to. So we did get a question asking how will this wetter than expected weather event affect firefighting strategy moving forward? The short version, ladies and gentlemen, is both zones are taking advantage of the wetter weather. As you heard from the West Zone operations report out, they are taking advantage of the cooler, wetter conditions to go direct, which is a preferred tactic where we can get right on the edge of the fire and cut this thing off before it builds another head of steam when some hotter, drier weather conditions. Which areas benefited the most from the moisture? I think having the west side, the West Zone having the most active fire behavior, having it moderate in conditions is really benefiting them a great deal. On our side, what it does, it just helped us reinforce the mop up and the progress of holding on to the existing control lines that we've already got secured. And then which areas are the most challenged? Based on what the meteorologists are indicating, it seems like the bulk of the moisture was more on the west side of the fire, like say from Quincy east, whereas on the west side and up north, while they did get some precipitation, they didn't get near as much as we did. So it'll probably dry out faster and the fuels will recover sooner, which probably return to that, more active fire potential up there sooner. So as we said before, there's still some concerns. The last thing I really want to mention is, as Chris Carlton mentioned, this is our last shift, or this is also our last public meeting with you all. We will be transitioning command of the east zone of the fire back over to Jerry McGowan starting tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock a.m. If you remember, Jerry McGowan and his team were in command of the east zone 2 weeks ago when the Great Basin team got here. So we're handing this fire back to Jerry, and he'll, I'm sure, high confidence that they'll see it to the end on the east zone. Jerry, did you want to come up and say hello to the folks? He's getting ready to he'll be running the meeting Sunday night. Excuse me. Okay, so what we've been doing since all day today, ever since Jerry's team showed up, is getting them up to speed and basically showing them here's what changed, sharing with them the areas of concerns, sharing with them our plans of how we were moving forward to contain the last of the problem areas. And as I said, I have a very high confidence that California team number 1 will be able to see this one through. So with that, thank you all very much for your viewership, and I'll hand it back to Kim.
Thank you, Evans. We'd like to thank you for watching our Facebook Live this evening. We'll continue to answer those questions on Facebook that may not have gotten answered. Our next public or Facebook Live meeting will be here 7:30 Sunday, September 12th. Have a good night.